The multiverse is in chaos. Universes that once thrived are now silent echoes, conquered and crushed under the heel of the masters of evil. Among these heroes is a Thor unlike any other. He's not the proud god of thunder most would recognize. This Thor has lived through horrors unimaginable. Asgard has fallen. Midgard too lies in ruins. The pain of his losses is etched deep within him, pushing him to find strength in the most unexpected places. But will even his might be enough to face the masters of evil? Meet the most shattered version of Thor across the multiverse. He isn't the mighty warrior who charges into battle with lightning in his veins and a hammer in hand. This Thor is different, a broken god haunted by his failures. Even worse, he's a Thor who cannot lift Mjolnir, the very hammer that defined his strength. But wherever Thor went, Mjolnir followed him like a true friend. Far away from the chaos of his past, Thor found himself in the icy wilderness of the Himalayas. The snow stretched endlessly, a frozen blanket that seemed to hide his pain. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, he experienced a flicker of peace. Here, there were no battles, no screams, and no reminders of his shortcomings. But peace wasn't meant for Thor. His solitude was shattered when Mjolnir returned with a sudden lightning strike.
Mjolnir, you bastard. Even here you hound me. Why won't you leave me be? Why? Why do you insist on mocking me?
The hammer hovered before him, glowing with an energy that seemed to mock his helplessness. Thor reached out instinctively, but his hand faltered. Once again, the hammer refused to yield to him. His anger boiled over. How could the weapon that symbolized his worth abandon him now? Wasn't he still the god of thunder? His voice roared through the mountains. Thor's frustration wasn't just with Mjolnir. It was with himself. He couldn't forgive his failures, and the hammer was a cruel reminder of the hero he no longer believed himself to be. Thor sat in silence, his chest rising and falling as he tried to calm down. His fists were bloody, trembling from punching Mjolnir again and again. No matter how hard he hit, the hammer didn't budge. It just sat there, unshaken, almost like it was mocking him. With each punch, his anger intensified. He didn't care that his hands were raw or that the ground was stained with his blood. All he wanted was to make the hammer move, but nothing worked. His frustration turned into desperation, and he raised his fists one more time. Before he could strike again, a voice broke the stillness. The voice was calm and steady, but it carried a sense of power.
That is not how to throw a punch.
Thor froze. Who was speaking?
You punch with rage, not with focus. Such a blow hurts you far more than the thing you strike. Though perhaps that is your goal.
Who the hell are you?
Lekung the Thunderer, guardian of Kunlun, and its ancient secrets.
Lekung asked if Thor had come in search of enlightenment, though he remarked it was too late for that. Thor, with a heavy tone, replied that he sought only oblivion.
You lie about as well as you punch. I see why you have come here, even if you do not. God of Thunder.
Do not call me that name. I am God of nothing.
Then you have come to the right place, for here, all is God-forsaken.
The Thunderer stepped into the portal with Thor, leading him to the ruins of Kunlun, a city once brimming with mystic power, now reduced to ash by the masters of evil. The once mighty Kunlun had fallen, and its armies lay defeated. The Thunderer, the lone guardian of the city's remains, stood as a testament to its tragic end. He revealed the bitter truth. The defenders had fought valiantly for days, but even the Iron Fist fell. The invaders burned everything, flesh, stone, and soul. Yet they overlooked one thing. The dragon cannot be burned. Behind the massive doors of Kunlun's sanctum, the mortal dragon, Sho-Lao, lay hidden. Weakened but alive, it slumbered, its body regenerating for the battles yet to come. From its heart came the almighty Iron Fist, the greatest weapon in all the heavens. But now, that power remained untethered, with no one left to wield it. Meanwhile, Mjolnir bumped into Thor.
Damn it, get off me!
Thor now stood unworthy of the hammer. Perhaps his hands were never meant for hammers, but for something greater.
You're saying you'll train me to become the Iron Fist?
The old warrior's voice grew firm as he declared, "Your training has already begun. Hit the hammer again." Thor stood before Mjolnir, a hammer forged from Uru, the strongest substance in all realms, capable of shattering worlds and breaking gods. Determined to prove his worth, Thor began a relentless battle against the unmovable hammer. For 30 days and nights, his fists rained down on the weapon, each strike harder than the last. Over time, his hands transformed into weapons themselves, scarred and unyielding, brimming with fury. As the days wore on, something extraordinary happened. Mjolnir, known for its immovable nature, started to quiver under Thor's relentless blows. Cracks spread across its surface, and it began to dodge Thor's punches, almost as if it were alive. But instead of discouraging him, this only fueled Thor's determination. He punched harder, his strikes echoing like thunder across the battlefield. Mjolnir stopped dodging. It began to fight back.
Do you hear that, Thor? That isn't thunder. That is the sound of a hammer quaking in fear. It thinks you can be beaten by a bit of bluster. It thinks you are worthy.
Thor stood unshaken. He wasn't bound to wind, rain, or even the storm. Thor was the god who could punch through them all. Mjolnir might have doubted, but Thor never did. His fists carried the truth of his power, a power that no hammer, no storm could ever deny. With a final earth-shaking blow, Thor shattered Mjolnir's will, forcing it to submit. Yet Thor didn't claim victory or the hammer. Before he could celebrate, a force greater than the hammer itself appeared. Thunderer, a being of immense power, sent Thor flying with a single strike. Thunder declared that defeating the hammer was not enough. Thor now had to face him in a final trial to prove his worth for the Iron Fist. Thor rose, battered but unbroken. His final test awaited.
As I told you, I am the last guardian of Shu Lao. I am your final trial. Thunderer versus Thunder God.
I told you not to call me that.
Thor sent the Thunderer flying with a single punch. The Thunderer crashed into a deep hole where a mighty dragon once rested.
Never before have I felt the perfect punch. Truly, it was an honor to be bludgeoned by you, Thor, and to lead you here to your destiny.
What?
There was no dragon, only bones. The Thunderer admitted he lied. Even immortal dragons aren't eternal, and the power of the Iron Fist was never Thor's to claim. His training wasn't about wielding a foreign weapon, but mastering the power he was born with. In that moment, Thor embraced his true nature, not as the god of thunder wielding a hammer, but as the god of fists, ready to face the masters of evil. With a newfound resolve, Thor addressed Mjolnir, telling it to follow but not interfere. This wasn't about the hammer anymore. It was about Thor proving himself without it. Suddenly, a portal tore through reality. Out stepped the Ghost Rider from Earth 616, and Tony Stark.
Let me guess. You're looking for a ride. Well, you're in luck, big fella, because we were just looking for a Thor.
But this is far from the end. With the multiverse in chaos and the masters of evil looming, Thor must rise to face a challenge greater than anything he has ever known. The shattered Avengers need him. The multiverse needs him. Will Thor's newfound strength be enough to turn the tide? Until next time, remember, even gods fall, but only the strongest rise again.